It is overtime here again at Old Favorite Friday discussing incredible classic beers. And I have here today a great beer from Boulevard Brewing. It's their Bourbon Barrel Quad or Bourbon Barrel Quadruple. We have actually featured the little brother of this beer before on Old Favorite Friday. We've talked about their sixth glass quadruple, and this beer starts its life out as that beer before it goes into bourbon barrels, and also before it gets a cherry addition that adds some real nice subtlety to this beer. In fact, if you kind of look at this beer close enough, you might not be able to see in the light, but there's this beautiful red hue tint to it that's very subtle, and there's a little bit of tart cherry there in the background that you get from the cherries that are added during the process. But this beer in general is actually really special to Boulevard because this was their first barrel aged beer back in 2008. This kind of sparked everything they have for their barrel age program, which has tons of really, really great beers, several of which we've featured here at Old Favorite Friday. And I really wanted to talk about this one for one reason is because today is barrel age beer day. So we wanted to do a barrel age beer, and I've been waiting. I actually picked this up several months ago and just kind of getting through some of the beers that we had. So it was the perfect time to do this, but it's also the perfect time to talk about a great quadruple because we are a Belgian inspired brewery here at Barrel Amongst. So we love quadruples. We love Belgian inspired beers. And particularly, we love when a great American brewery does their interpretation and makes a great classic style Belgian ale. And Boulevard is one of the best at doing this. You go down their portfolio of beers they've done over the years. They always hit out of the park. And doing a beer like this, as long as they have, is really special to me. I mean, a lot of breweries over the last several years, even over the last 10 years or so, have kind of phased out some of the Belgian beers that they're doing. They're not as popular as they once were. That's just the reality of the beer industry. And it would have been really easy for this beer to kind of fall by the wayside. Their sixth class quadruple and then their bourbon barrel version of the beer. But yet they've stayed steady with it. They continue to kick this beer out, and we're just all better for it because we have access to a really, really great beer. And doing this beer in bourbon, I've done bourbon barrel versions of our quadraphonic quadruple, and it works really, really well. We've done rum barrel versions. It's a beer that really lends itself, a Belgian dark strong ale, lends itself to tons of different barrel variations. We've done red wine versions. We've used our Father Christmas, which is at base a Belgian dark strong ale, but this time with spices. We've done that in red wine. We've done that in rye whiskey. We've done that in Calvados barrels. So these are beers that really, really lend themselves well to barrel aging. Yet you don't see a lot of that being done, even in Belgium. I mean, I am not up to date on all the things that are going on in the Belgian craft beer scene, but if you look at the classic beers that we've had over the years, I don't see a lot of barrel aged beers, at least ones that don't come to South Florida where I have the ability to get my hands on them. So it's really wonderful that fact that these beers lend themselves so well to barrel aging, and there's so few examples, and we still get a chance to pick this one up on a regular basis. The beer itself does exactly what you're expecting from a great quadruple. You've got the dark fruit, candied fruit, caramelized sugar. Those flavors are definitely there. But what do I always say? We wouldn't be talking about this beer if it wasn't a well-made example of the style. It's not overly sweet. It's not one-dimensional. It has complexity to it that a lot of American breweries, when they try to do Belgian ales, they all are kind of one note. This is not that. You ride the wave of different flavor profiles here. And then you have the added addition of the cherries, which gives a little bit of tartness, adds a cherry flavor to this as well, rounds out some of those flavors and really adds something special. We do a beer called Be Mine, which is a chocolate cherry version of our quadruple. So I'm very familiar with utilizing those flavors together. I think they work really well. And then finally you got the barrel, and the barrel flavor adds a little bit of smoke to it, a little bit of vanilla, but just like this entire beer, and I would say everything that Boulevard kind of does, it's with subtlety. It is not hitting you over the head with it. I'm not drinking a bourbon. I'm drinking a great Belgian quadruple with a hint of cherry and adding that barrel-aged bourbon complexity. It doesn't dominate it, and that's another thing. It takes real skill to make a beer and not get too heavy-handed with that bourbon, because the temptation is always, oh, I need more of that flavor. It says it on the bottle, I need more of that flavor. But a little restraint goes a long way, in my opinion. That's what we try to do here at Barrel of Monk. Sometimes we fail, sometimes we succeed, but this is a beer that succeeds in doing that extremely well. And it's no wonder for a brewery that's been around as long as Boulevard that they are able to do this well for this long with this beer. I actually was looking on the website and I did not see a seasonality of this. At least it wasn't listed prominently on their website. So I'm not sure if this is a year-round release or what season it would come from. But I've seen it on my Total Wine shelves now for several months, as I noticed that it was there. Things get moved around sometimes, so not 100% sure, but if you're lucky enough to have this beer available for you right now and you can pick this beer up, you should drink it for Old Favorite Friday. It would be a great beer to have over the weekend. But if you can't get your hands on this beer and you've got access to any Boulevard beer, they're a great brewery. You're going to enjoy a beer. If you don't like quadruples or you're not into Belgians, I don't know why you're watching me talk about beer, because that's one of the main things that we do at Barrel of Monks. But they do so many great beers of a bunch of different styles. There's a new barrel aged mix pack, a Neapolitan ice cream pack that's out right now that I picked up. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm sure it's going to be dynamite because everything they do is dynamite. Talking about food and beer pairings, the first thing that I thought of when I was drinking this today was like a veal ossobuco. Or a beef ossobuco. You have that slow braised meat. It's really savory. It's really rich. And you have those kind of smoky vanilla flavors that come from this beer. And then you add a little bit of acidity with the cherry and just all those warm spices and richness that comes from this beer. I think that would be a really great pairing for that. You could also do with like some barbecue burnt ends. I think would work really well, going with those kind of smoky flavors and all the dark fruit and molasses and flavors that come out of this quad naturally would go really, really well with something like a burnt ends. But those are two things that I think would be great with this beer. Once again, thank you, Boulevard, for making a wonderful beer. And I just wish we continue to get more and more of your stuff. I'm really happy to see that new mix pack of the Neapolitan ice cream beers on the shelf, because it gives me a chance to try a new beer from a great brewery. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Old Favorite Friday. Please poke around the channel, like, subscribe. We really appreciate that. And we'll see you next week. Cheers.